Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dabo Swinney, the Clemson Tigers, landing their quarterback of the future in the 2026 class as three-star quarterback Tait Reynolds committing to the Clemson Tigers. And you talk about guys that could rise in the recruiting rankings over the next 2 years. Tait Reynolds, at least in my mind, is at the top of the list. And why do I say that? This was a kid that was going to play baseball at the college level, was committed to Arizona State just a couple of weeks ago, backs off that commitment, decides to go the football route. Why could he be a riser in the recruiting rankings? At least in my mind, there's not many quarterbacks that bring the physical traits that Tait Reynolds does to the quarterback position. You start taking a look at the checklist in terms of traits you want in elite college football quarterbacks. Tait Reynolds is checking a lot of those boxes. And why he's kind of sitting there as a three-star right now is you look at the sophomore year and say, it's not necessarily something that's going to jump out on the paper. A 54% completion percentage, 11 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, but also added 17 touchdowns on the ground. There's still some development that needs to take place, which I think certainly makes sense considering just a couple of weeks ago, this was a kid that wanted to play baseball at the collegiate level. You take a look at the junior and senior film, I think this kid could be a massive riser in this 2026 cycle. Really excited to get into the sophomore film, talk about what he brings to this Clemson offense. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys. And over the last couple of weeks and days, it has just been a blast breaking down all of these commitments. It's something that I absolutely love about the sport of college football, and the amount of support that you guys have shown the fellas. It truly does mean a lot. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into Tait Reynolds. And again, I think you want to start with the physical traits. At 6'2", 210 pounds, Tait Reynolds is an elite caliber athlete. And you take a look at Cade Klubnik, who was a really good athlete himself coming out of high school. What makes Tait Reynolds a little bit different is he has the size to be utilized a little bit more as a dual threat quarterback. You look at Cade Klubnik, he is a phenomenal athlete when he decides to tuck the ball and kind of operate with the legs. You just don't want to put him in that many situations because he doesn't necessarily have that big of a frame. You don't want him taking too many hits. You look at Tait Reynolds, a kid that, again, is only going into his junior year of high school. He's 6'2", 210. I mean, he's going to be the size of a lot of linebackers that are trying to tackle him. So he's a guy that, because he's a phenomenal athlete and has that size, you can ask him to do a little bit more from an athletic standpoint, carrying the football. And I think, secondly, the arm talent. There's not a throw that Tait Reynolds can't make. I mean, he is a gunslinger. You can tell he was a baseball guy because the off-platform throws, the different arm angles, the arm talent is certainly there. I think you want to see a little bit more consistency. I think you want to see that completion percentage go up a little bit, the touchdown to interception ratio kind of even out a little bit. But this is a guy that, again, Dabo Swinney, Garrett Riley have identified a quarterback that, at least in my mind, is kind of flying under the radar, that has elite physical traits, and say, hey, we're going to go bet on this kid and kind of take a look at what the development looks like over the next 2 years of his high school career. And if he hits and he figures it out, especially now kind of focusing a little bit more on football, you are looking at a quarterback with a ton of upside. You get into the film, again, one, he's not just a plus athlete. He's a dual threat dynamic quarterback. And you get into the film, it's very easy to see why. I mean, his ability to make people miss, be able to deal with contact, and then kind of hit the burners and run away from defensive backs, it is certainly there. I think the second thing you want to talk about, this kid's a gamer. He is not afraid to stand into some contact and deliver footballs at a high level. I mean, you take a look at that throw to the boundary. It might not necessarily be that flashy, but you're taking contact. You're getting the ball out on a frozen rope from an off-arm angle. Again, the arm talent is certainly there for Tait Reynolds. You see the baseball background on the run, different arm angle, off platform, just an absolute laser beam into an extremely tight window. You see Tait Reynolds be not afraid to put the ball in a little bit of harm's way. And I think as he continues to develop, you want to see him maybe take care of the football a little bit more. You go back to this throw, I mean, opposite hash to the boundary, probably 50-plus yards in the air, putting it absolutely in the bucket. And there's not a throw that Tait Reynolds can't make on this film. And again, you talk about the athleticism. He can absolutely cook in the open space. I mean, legitimately running away from defensive backs, one of the best athletes on the field at the quarterback position. I think Tait Reynolds is an absolutely fascinating prospect that as you continue to watch the film, you just kind of think, I want to bet on this kid because he's an absolute gamer. Again, off platform, making a lot of different throws with a lot of different arm angles. This one might be my favorite rep that you see. You talk about the physicality in terms of which he runs with. This is a guy that you want playing quarterback for you at the collegiate level, a guy that's going to be a winner at the collegiate level. So much upside into Tait Reynolds' game. He routinely pushes the ball down to that deeper third, consistently dropping it in a bucket. And you see a lot of kind of different throws, right? One, you'll see kind of that rainbow throw where he's going to put it really, really high. And again, off platform, these throws he makes look just so easy in terms of extending plays, keeping your eyes downfield, finding that window in zone coverage, makes that look a lot easier than it probably is. This is a kid that has all the physical traits that you want at the collegiate level, and I think you're just betting on some upside. Again, really, really small, tight window throw to the boundary. I don't think you can throw a better football than that. There's not a throw on the football field that Tait Reynolds can't make. Talk about betting on some upside. That's what you're doing with Tait Reynolds. And again, we're probably going to revisit his film as a junior and senior, and I think this is a kid that sitting as the 25th quarterback in the 2026 class, I think certainly could be one of the better quarterbacks in this 2026 class over the next couple of years. Really excited to see the progression of Tait Reynolds and kind of fired up to just see Dabo Swinney go out and bet on some upside at the quarterback position. We'll cut it there. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.